The idea of giving yourself 6 months may sound both ambitious and intimidating. 6 months is neither too long to delay nor too short to be unrealistic. It sits at a sweet spot, a space where urgency meets possibility. When most people think of change, they picture it as a distant, almost unreachable event, something that happens in years, something they will one day get around to. But 6 months breaks that illusion. It makes transformation real and immediate. Think about it. 6 months is roughly 180 days. 180 mornings where you can choose to rise with intention, or fall back into old habits. 180 chances to do something small, something meaningful, that compounds into big results. People often overestimate what they can achieve in a single week, but they grossly underestimate what they can build in half a year. In fact, the world is full of examples of people who have completely redefined themselves in that time frame. 6 months of focused study can turn a beginner into a skilled professional in a chosen craft. 6 months of consistent training can reshape the body into one of strength and endurance. 6 months of disciplined saving can create financial breathing room that once felt impossible. The real power of 6 months lies in its psychological impact. It is short enough to feel urgent. There is no time to waste, no endless years ahead to put things off. It forces your mind to focus and prioritize. But at the same time, it is long enough to make significant, measurable progress. If you only gave yourself 6 weeks, you might see small improvements. 6 months, however, allows the compounding effect of effort to kick in. Habits begin to harden, skills start to sharpen, results become visible, and most importantly, identity begins to shift. When you give yourself 6 months, you set a powerful boundary against procrastination. Procrastination thrives on open-ended timelines. It whispers, "You'll do it later, when you have more time." But 6 months shuts that door. It gives you a clear horizon, a visible finish line. You can see it, you can imagine yourself crossing it, and that vision pulls you forward. It becomes a contract with yourself, 6 months of focus in exchange for a different life. The beauty of this approach is that it applies universally. Whether it's your career, your health, your finances, your relationships, or your mindset, 6 months of intentional effort changes the game. Imagine dedicating 6 months to mastering a new language. By the end, you would not be fluent, perhaps, but you would be conversational, capable, and confident. Imagine giving 6 months to physical fitness, committing to daily exercise, proper nutrition, and discipline. Your body would not just look different, it would feel different, more energy, more strength, more resilience. Imagine focusing 6 months on your mental growth, reading daily, journaling, practicing mindfulness. Your perspective would expand. Your clarity would deepen, your confidence would grow. The truth is, 6 months is not about the calendar. It is about the mindset you bring to it. You could let 6 months pass you by with excuses, distractions, and wasted potential. Or you could seize it, squeezing every day for progress. The time will pass either way. 6 months from now, you will be older. The question is, will you also be wiser, healthier, wealthier, stronger, more capable? Or will you be the same, wishing you had started today? What makes 6 months powerful is not just the progress itself, but the shift in identity it creates. At the start, you may see yourself as someone trying to change. By the end, if you remain consistent, you begin to see yourself as someone who does change. That belief becomes the foundation for even greater transformations. Once you realize how much can shift in half a year, you stop doubting what is possible in the long term. 6 months becomes a catalyst, a spark that ignites the fire of lifelong growth. So when you commit to giving yourself 6 months, you are not just committing to a goal. You are committing to rewiring your mind, your habits, your discipline. You are proving to yourself that you are capable of focus, capable of resilience, capable of rewriting your story in a short but powerful season of your life. And once you experience that kind of change in 6 months, you will never again underestimate what is possible for you. Invisible actions begin to accumulate. They compound, layer upon layer, until one day you look back and realize the mountain you've climbed was built from tiny, steady steps. Daily actions are powerful because they bypass the illusions of perfection and timing. If you wait for the perfect conditions, you wait forever. You wait for more money, more time, more energy, more motivation. But perfection never arrives. What you do today, no matter how small, matters more than waiting for an ideal tomorrow. When you learn to act daily, you train your mind to prioritize progress over perfection. You begin to understand that change is not an event, it is a process. Take the example of learning a new skill. If you spend 30 minutes each day studying and practicing, in 6 months you will have spent 90 hours building that skill. That is the equivalent of more than 2 full work weeks devoted to growth. Imagine what 90 hours of focused effort could do for your career, your creativity, or your confidence. Or take the example of fitness. A half-hour workout every day adds up to 90 sessions in 6 months. That's 90 opportunities to grow stronger, more flexible, more energetic. That kind of repetition does not just change your body, it rewires your identity. You begin to see yourself as the kind of person who takes care of their health. The compounding effect of daily actions is often invisible in the beginning. You may not notice change in the first week. You may even feel like nothing is happening. That is why most people give up, they cannot see the roots growing beneath the soil. But growth is happening, even when it is not yet visible. And then, seemingly overnight, results begin to appear. The book you've been reading page by page is suddenly finished. The money you've been saving dollar by dollar becomes a fund that gives you peace of mind. The effort you've been putting into your craft earns you recognition, opportunity, or mastery. What once felt small now feels unstoppable. Daily action also creates a rhythm, and rhythm builds discipline. When you do something every day, it no longer requires massive willpower. It becomes automatic, almost effortless. You don't debate whether to do it, you simply do it because it is who you are now. That is how real transformation happens, not just by changing your results, but by changing your self-image. You stop being someone who tries to be disciplined, and you become someone who simply is. And here lies the greatest truth: small daily actions are not just about reaching a destination. They are about becoming the kind of person who takes responsibility for their future. Every time you choose action over procrastination, you cast a vote for the person you want to be. Each action is a vote for growth, for strength, for resilience, for possibility. Over time, those votes add up until the old version of you no longer exists. So when you think about 6 months of change, don't focus on the giant leap. Focus on the daily step. Don't obsess over how far you still have to go. Pay attention to what you can do today, right now, in this moment. That is where transformation begins. 6 months from now, the world may look at you and say, "You've changed." But you will know the truth: it wasn't magic, it wasn't luck, it wasn't sudden. It was the quiet power of daily actions, stacked one on top of the other, until change was no longer an option, it was inevitable. 6 months of consistent effort does far more than change your circumstances, it changes who you are at the core. The journey is not only about achieving a goal, but about reshaping your identity and character. When you commit to a season of transformation, you are not just building new habits, you are building a new version of yourself. And that version will carry forward long after the initial 6 months have passed. What most people misunderstand about growth is that it isn't simply about outcomes. Losing weight, making more money, or learning a skill are visible results, yes, but they are not the true reward. The deeper transformation lies in the qualities you develop along the way, qualities like discipline, patience, resilience, and self-belief. These qualities cannot be purchased, borrowed, or handed down, they are earned in the quiet grind of repeated action. They are forged in the moments when you want to quit but keep going anyway, when you want to make excuses but choose responsibility instead. In the first days of your journey, motivation may carry you. Motivation feels exciting, it makes change feel fresh and possible. But motivation fades. Discipline steps in when motivation disappears. Discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you want to be. 6 months of daily effort trains discipline into your very being. You stop relying on inspiration, and you start relying on consistency. That shift alone can change your entire life, because once you are disciplined, you can apply that strength to any area you choose. Patience is another transformation that unfolds. In our fast-paced world, people expect instant results. They start a new habit and when they don't see progress in a week, they give up. But 6 months teaches you patience, because progress is not always immediate. It teaches you to trust the process, to keep watering the seed even when you cannot yet see the plant. That patience extends beyond the 6 months, it becomes part of how you face challenges in life. You learn to trust time, effort, and persistence, instead of chasing quick fixes. Resilience also grows in this journey. 6 months is not a smooth road. There will be days you stumble, days you miss your target, days you feel exhausted or doubtful. But resilience is built when you rise again after those days. It is built when you learn that failure is not the end, but feedback. Resilience means you stop being afraid of setbacks, because you know you can recover, adapt, and keep moving. That strength stays with you long after the 6 months are complete. Perhaps the most powerful transformation, though, is the shift in self-belief. At the start, you might question whether you are capable of change. Doubt may whisper that you've tried before and failed, that you are not disciplined enough, not strong enough, not talented enough. But as the days stack into weeks, and the weeks into months, evidence begins to replace doubt. Every small win, every day of consistency, becomes proof that you can. And with enough proof, your identity changes. You stop saying, "I want to change," and you start saying, "I am someone who changes." That shift in belief is the foundation for everything else you will accomplish in life. The gift of 6 months is not just a new body, a new skill, or a new career. It is the person you become in the process. A person who knows how to start and how to finish. A person who trusts their own word, because they've proven they can keep promises to themselves. A person who no longer waits for the world to hand them change, because they have learned to create it. So understand this: the destination matters, but the journey matters more. The 6 months you dedicate to growth are not just a timeline, they are a transformation chamber. You enter as one version of yourself, and you emerge as someone stronger, wiser, more disciplined, and more capable. That is the real reward. And when you carry that identity into the rest of your life, there is no limit to what you can achieve. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the truth is clear. 6 months is not just time on a calendar, it is an opportunity, a test, and a promise. It is proof that you can redirect the course of your life in less than a year if you choose to. 6 months of focus can unlock strength you never knew you had. 6 months of discipline can reshape your body, your mind, your career, your relationships. 6 months of daily action can build a foundation that lasts a lifetime. But none of this will happen by accident. Change is not waiting for you, it is waiting on you. The days will pass, whether you use them or not. The question you must ask yourself is simple: who will you be when those 6 months are gone? Will you look back with regret, or will you look back with pride? The decision lies in your hands today, in this very moment. Do not wait for perfect timing. Do not wait for motivation to knock on your door. Begin with what you have, where you are, and let the power of daily action carry you forward. Step into the next 6 months with intention, and watch how quickly your life transforms. Remember, you are closer to change than you think. 6 months is all it takes to prove to yourself that everything can be different if you decide, if you commit, if you act. Your future is waiting. Your transformation begins now.